Young people are the future. It is important that they're given opportunities to discover talents and learn skills, and given a chance to change and redeem themselves before society writes them off. To protect their identities, names of the individuals in the following documentary have been changed.
It's a small place, everyone knows each other.
The coastal town of Falmouth lies to the central south of Cornwall, a postcard location in one of the country's poorest counties. Despite its scenic beauty, Falmouth suffers from crime and antisocial behaviour like any other populated area, and is of no shortage of youth offending. I first met Jack after being put into contact with his youth coordinator Chloe, who organised the Believe project.
So this project is called Believe, and recognising that every single young person has got potential. The young person that we're working with together, he has come to me through the youth offending service. He turned up one day, we were outside his house in the car, and he'd been with another worker, and the guy gets passed between all these workers. Somehow the conversation came up about, you should write a rap about your life, and he said nobody would want to hear it.
Well, I'm into my rap because, I've just got a lot to talk about, behind me. My story could, mean something to, all the youths about.
Secretive about his childhood, Jack fell in with the wrong crowd at the age of 10.
I used to hang around with, all the elders. One of my first offences I can think of on the top of my head was arson when I was 12. Just, silly things, setting little fires and criminal damage and stuff like that.
In conjunction with reasons Jack wished to keep to himself, he was moved away from his mum and family.
So I was moved up to Sussex, and that's 300 plus miles away from Cornwall. I'd say 12 or 13.
In our first meeting, we discussed music mostly, and offered my skills as a producer to help bring the idea of making a rap song into reality. Jack agreed to start meeting twice a week to complete the project, and our first session, I introduced him to the production hard and software and began to brainstorm lyric ideas.
What did you say this does?
So yeah, you can do all your drum stuff on here as well.
Is that one of them dubstep touch pad things?
Yeah, you can use it for the same thing as and if you go on something like synth, this is where you can get your music stuff and your bass and that.
What is it, soundboard?
Yeah, it's it's basically where you get all your sounds from. So just go through, mate.
Can you get gunshots on there?
Nah, but I have got a gunshot somewhere.
Have you?
We could put some in the track if you want,
That's
mate.
what I want.
Yeah.
Because it sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, man, definitely.
I think we should start getting some bars down.
Yeah. You're young, that's a start.
Respect.
After supplying me with reference songs by UK drill and rap artists such as Fredo and KD, I got to work on producing the beat and had the fundamentals ready for the next session, which Jack also brought his friend Terry along to.
So what do you think of that, bro?
I think make it a little bit bassier.
I was surprised by Jack's curiosity and what I was showing him so far, showing genuine interest in the process. I was surprised because Jack in the past and the young man I was working with now didn't seem like the same person. Not long after returning to Falmouth last year, Jack was charged with carrying a concealed weapon, in this case, a knife.
Oh, I had people after me, so I thought protection, innit? But it was stupid. I got arrested for another case of arson, and then they searched me and found it and put me on tag for it. 4 months.
This also affected Jack's education.
Got kicked out and moved into a Peru. So that's only got 2 kids in one lesson.
Knife crime is one of the biggest issues facing society at the moment, and it's not just in cities. As paramedic Dan Tucker said on Channel 4's 999, Watch Your Emergency.
There's a real epidemic. It's not just our major cities. There's places like Trowbridge. It's a small Wiltshire market town, and a young lad has been stabbed to death.
And crime isn't just restricted to knives.
Wow. Criminal damage, I'd say.
Bear fights every night. It's just everyone just turns to drugs these days. All these kids. That's a fun thing to do.
Because there's not a lot to do being a youth.
Especially around here. It's a retirement home.
So why are youth turning to antisocial behaviour and crime? Youth worker Chloe argues that cuts to the youth sector have had a pivotal role.
The recession hit, there was less funding. The sector has been decimated nationally, and we're seeing this now in the news with heightened knife crime. Young people feeling disassociated from their community, and there's nothing for young people to do who are struggling anymore.
Similarly, Jack and Terry both point fingers at the government.
I think they need to step their game up a bit, giving us something to do. putting the money in for skate parks or studio.
Yeah. I want to see more down here. I want to see more big rappers down here go up. I want equal opportunity, innit? And opportunities like this can also like bring out talents some people might not even know they have. Like, can make them discover new things about themselves.
The next session, Terry came in and surprised us all.
Put that in there because it says Remy.
Oh, that's my name, that's my producer.
Young
is
age,
it?
but I know my shit. Bare of these snakes be making hits, and bare of these sneaks be trying to snitch, and so many man be out to get. I stand my ground, I get man flipped. Smoke bare congas, a man get splits. When I hit man with a crook floor and kick, you wanna see man
Mate, I'm
taking
telling
shit.
you, if we can get yours lots down, get him on the track as well, just make this like a young people's product. I'll obviously do my bit as well, but if we can make it like a young...
3-man, 4-man collab.
Yeah, bruv, like literally.
In many ways, I can relate to these young people, not just through music, but having had several moments in my teenage years that could have sent my life in a completely different direction. I spoke to my mum to find out how she felt about my future back then.
Hello?
Hello, Mumsy, you alright? I just wanted to know how you felt and if you were ever worried about where I was heading in life.
Okay, well, I was worried about where you were heading. It's easy to meet the wrong people and get into the wrong circles, and it would appear that you have managed to get in and get out the other side.
But not all do make it on the other side, and that was my worry for Jack after he missed the next 2 recording sessions. I was almost hurt by it. We'd come so far, he'd written lyrics, I'd created a beat that he had creative control over, we'd even turned it into a group project with his friend. I had all but given up, but speaking to former youth worker Ivor Richards put the situation into perspective for me.
Yeah, it's actually quite remarkable that this individual has turned up on time and stayed for the periods that they have, and my experience is that that's quite rare often. I do recall from my own youth work training spending 15 minutes with these young people in the classroom before they just ripped it to pieces, and going back to my supervisor with my head in my hands thinking, what did I do wrong? And his response to that was, you engaged them for 15 minutes? That's amazing. My level of expectation about how those young people would respond to me was based on quite unrealistic standards.
Just when all hope seemed lost, I received a message from Jack saying how his family is going through a difficult time and that he's sorry he missed the session, and if we can get the studio for tomorrow, him and Terry will both be there. True to his word, they were both there, on time, and reasonably ready to go.
I can do it about now. Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go, bro.
Yo, this is a start. Leave you dead in the dark. Shit, this is a start. Leave you on fire. My bars come straight. Test me and you're gonna get spark. Oh, Vincent. Oh.
Don't sit down. Right, you ready?
Yeah, wait. If you diss me, you're gonna get dipped. My bars are hard like brick. Ain't no younger shot in this shit.
After a few takes, both lads had their parts down, and the end result is something both these 16-year-olds can be proud of.
It's the remedy.
Yo, this is a start. Leave you on fire in a park. Leave you dead in the dark. Ship you off like Noah's Ark. If I see feds are dark, my bars come straight from the heart. Test me and you're gonna get sparked. Skin's thicker than bark. Think you're bad, but I've seen your defeat. Your punches, they didn't hurt me. All you proved is that you're weak. Ain't got time for a stupid neek. I'ma prove that I'm sick. If you diss me, you'll get dipped. Bars are hard like Beck. Ain't no younger shot in this shit.
Young age, but I know my shit. Bare these sneaks be making hits, and bare these sneaks be trying to snitch, and so many man be out to get, but I stand my ground and a man get fit. Smoke bare crumbs and man get fits. When I hit that man with a flying kick, you won't see me taking any shit. Born and raised in dead up foul. Not from the ends, but I've seen boys foul. Seen dad's life from the west to the south. In fact, I am a victim myself. I didn't understand, but I guess do now. Nobody ever gonna put me down, cause I jump back up with a fuck or frown, make an entrance, and I fry man brown.
It's been fun.
Honestly, it's been sick. Like, it makes us feel more confident about rapping too. So I have no words. It's sick, man.
But it just shows how much opportunity like people can give for young people.
It's been magical to watch you with him. It's like it's meant to be, because that guy has not been believed in, and you've come to him and you've given him a medium, and he's just lit up, and it's the first thing I've known that he's committed to.
It's just opportunity.
Yo. I'm in the booth! I'm in the studio, fam, not right now.
Football's an industry where it's not something that's talked about. You know, people don't really talk about feelings and emotions.
With so much going on and so much pressure outside it, and you know, depression really did get hold of me, to the point of where I tried to take my own life.
The Football Association of Wales have just confirmed that Gary Speed, the national manager, has died.
Football is a game of extreme highs and lows. For every glorious last-minute winner, there is the sinking feeling for the opposition who have blown the match. That is why it is the beautiful game. But beyond the glamour of the Premier League, football has a problem. While many players may be getting paid big wages, many footballers, past and present, are dealing with serious mental health issues. I've come to the Manadon Sports Hub in Plymouth, where the Argyle Community Trust hosts their Ability Counts football sessions for those dealing with mental health issues and physical disabilities.
You get beat by a plastic mannequin.
Running these sessions is Health and Disability Officer Mickey McCloskey, and his journey to the Trust has been anything but straightforward.
When I was younger in Glasgow anyway, a few wrong choices, a few bad decisions, and you ended up hanging about with people that were maybe doing things that they shouldn't have been, and I got involved in it and started getting into like solvent abuse and drinking alcohol, and before we knew it we were sort of addicted to heroin. So you end up being homeless, you ended up suffering mentally from using drugs, and end up in a lot of institutions, and end up in rehab, end up in a lot of young offenders, end up in a lot of prisons over the years, right? And mental health wasn't very good. So I had a lot of understanding now that what it's like when things aren't going right. I was in prison in London, and I got a chance to come down to County Plymouth in a rehab, and that's what I wanted for years, and I just couldn't get there. I never had it in me, just for whatever reason it never worked. A judge in London sort of offered me it. He said, it's either go to jail again for a long time or come down to Plymouth, and since that day I've never looked back. So that this side need a ball, this side. You might pass it, Josh. Get your back against it. I might give you a little nudge. There you go, simple. When I came out of the rehab, I was trying to find something to do to keep me occupied. And one of my friends was on a football course at Plymouth Argyle Community Trust. I never knew nothing about it. I was just waiting that day, so again, a bit of stroke of luck. I went up to the offices room where he was having this interview about it, and I tagged along. There were 2 people short, and I thought it'd be a laugh to go in and see what it was like. And within a couple of hours I'd signed up for it. Still thinking, not really thinking about football, wasn't interested in coaching. Went up on the course up at the Argyle Community Trust, and it just started changing me.
According to the Mental Health Foundation, the South West has the highest suicide rate in the whole of England. Mickey hopes that the sessions can give those struggling a sense of belonging.
For me, it was always getting them somewhere where they can come, because they all love football, they all like football, they've played football one time or another, and for whatever reason, with their disability or their mental health, they've been restricted from being able to play football. Maybe they don't fit in, but they fit in here because we make sure they fit in because it's open for all.
Well, before I wasn't very confident. I lost confidence in myself multiple times, but I learned to gain confidence through these things, and you learn so much from different people and different people's stories.
I mean, I'm a sufferer of Asperger's with anxiety and depression, so obviously I qualify through the learning disability with mental health issues. Played here for, well, not at this AstroTurf, but at Lipson for 12 years.
I really like playing for Argyle because we got the best coach in Mickey. All the players are quite excellent and we're doing well this season.
Do you find that you see a little bit of yourself in some of these lads?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, because for years, for whatever reason, I don't know what reason, I was always trying to fit in, do you know what I mean? Even though I did fit in, but in my head I didn't fit in, do you know what I mean? So you were always trying to find something that you felt that you felt part of. Unfortunately for me, it ended up with drugs, and I thought that was it. I feel part of that, but it was a sort of negative way. Do you know what I mean? Where you thought he fitted in, it was just that you were hooked in. When I come with these guys, I can relate to them, even though some of them might not be about drugs, or it might not be about anything else. But it's just that feeling where sometimes you feel different, sometimes you feel a wee bit anxious, a wee bit scared. It's like if I can make them feel that wee bit special, do you know what I mean? That wee bit normal, a wee bit where they feel safe, then that's what I want.
I'm here at Tavistock for the Devon Ability Council League tournament, which is held once monthly from September till May. You can already sense the atmosphere here. It's incredible, and all the players are so excited for the day ahead. How are you guys feeling about the tournament so far?
Very excited. I think we'll win this game. We've got a good team at the moment, strong teams, strong defence. I think we'll win.
Be a few tough matches we got to play, like Barnstable, Club Plymouth, and all sorts of teams we got to play against today. Like the first game we got to play now against Bideford, and hopefully it'll be a good game.
You need to remember, just because of all they've got disabilities or mental health issues, right? They like football, they wouldn't be here. They watch football on the telly, they might go and watch Argyle, or these boys might go and watch Exeter. To them, this is them playing. They've got an Argyle shirt on, they've got an Exeter shirt on, they're playing for Exeter, they're playing for Plymouth Argyle, right? So it's that wee sort of pride. They belong to something, right, and they belong to that football club. Last week they were playing in a cup final, like they lost, right, but they were in a cup final playing for Argyle.
However, things don't always go to plan, and with some players dealing with conditions such as Asperger's syndrome, it's no surprise that tempers can flare.
Use your players, use your whips, and just shoot when you can, and Ryan will stop them.
Huh?
Huh?
You're going in goal.
Huh? You're in go first.
No, I'm not.
Why do you think I'm dressed like this?
You're in goal first.
I'm captain, I decide, and
No,
Josh said I'm not in go first.
You're not.
Well, no one's in go then.
You're the keeper.
Well, you keep moaning that you want to go in.
I didn't say I wanted to go in first game.
Well, you're going in.
No, I'm not.
I'm out for Bideford. Argue all you like, it's happening.
Nevertheless, it's just amazing for me to stand here and see the smiles on people's faces. The impact that these tournaments have on players of all different ages and abilities is just immense.
Like the games that we're watching now, you see that the movement's not as quick, you can see the disabilities, but when you see them actually having a shot, you can feel it. You can feel the excitement in them. You saw a boy there that had just scored a goal, and he ran about 40 yards and done a big knee slide, and he was loving it.
Ashley Harris is the Disability Football Development Officer for the Devon FA and says that as a referee, in these circumstances, you have to adjust the way that you deal with the players.
Particularly working with players like on the autistic spectrum, mental health, Asperger's. We try and work with the clubs, the club coaches and the players if they've lost, if there's been a bit of dissent where in maybe mainstream games you might give a caution or a sin bin. We do try and work with the coaches to maybe get them subbed off to calm them down. Particularly if you give a player a red card, it can kind of throw them with their anxiety levels. So yeah, we do try and adapt our style, but obviously if it's violent conduct, for example, then we do have to apply the laws of the game.
Have a shot, Ryan.
Oh, unlucky, good shot.
I'm going to Home Park to see Plymouth take on Charlton, but more importantly, to find out what Argyle fans know about the work that their club does in the community.
Any mental issues is a big thing nowadays, isn't it? And if they can help the community in that way, very good.
It gives them an outlet, doesn't it, rather than doing what they were doing.
Always proud of Argyle and the work they do in the community. Because obviously these days everything is sort of family orientated and bring the fans back to the club. For the bigger teams, you'd expect them with the bigger money to be more involved with their communities.
Obviously the clubs have to look at the mental health of their players, and yes, certainly they should do anything they can. Football, it's not just a game. I'm not here just to go and watch Argyle. It's because it's my city, my home, my community.
People on the outside look in and all they see is that a football team, right? Plymouth Argyle is more than just a football team, man, right? Because we've made a difference, right, in lots and lots of kids and lots of adults' lives. Do you know what I mean? We've given them a platform, we've given them a venue where they can just come no matter how old they are, they'll be accepted there, right? If it's disability, if it's mental health, whatever, we're here, and I want us to continue to do that.
Some friends give a lot to you, and some friends take a lot from you, okay? And eventually you'll have people around you that you know, can chug along with quite nicely, and they'll be your friends for a long, long time. Unfortunately, with family, they're there, they are your family. You can't turn around and say, actually, I don't really like you very much, and I don't really want to spend a lot of time with you, because they're blood.
Hello?
Hello, you alright? How you doing?
You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright. Good day.
How'd you go to Dennis this morning? Went swimming tonight.
I wanted to discuss what we spoke about a while ago, and if you still wanted to come and find out about, you know, what happened on Boxing Day. Boxing Day, December 2011. My family was preparing for relatives to arrive for a yearly event at our house in Ferndown, Dorset. I spoke to my mum and my dad and casted their minds back to that day.
The lead up to this sounds really trivial. It was about a mobile phone. He was paying for a mobile phone. Between Nicola, Charlie's mum, and my mum, they had come to some agreement where they were going to buy Charlie a new phone, and that was without Andrew knowing. So anyway, Christmas comes around and he gets this new phone, and apparently Andrew just lost the plot.
That day that my dad is describing tore my family in two, a once close-knit family becoming estranged. How did such a happy occasion become so volatile? We have family members who don't want to see each other, don't celebrate the holidays, and don't communicate. I'm hoping to reconnect my family. Was there more to this division than Boxing Day 2011?
I think there's probably, at times, little undercurrents, and as parents, we try and hide things from you. We try and make your day special. We try and protect you.
News at 8 o'clock on Saturday the 30th of March. Good morning, this is Harvey Cook.
Well, I'll do a shepherd's pie.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah. I'll do a shepherd's pie, and I might whack in a little fruit cake. Pudding. There's custard in the cupboards.
Yeah, that's what it is. See you tomorrow.
Just, you know, be aware that people are going to be opening themselves up.
See you later. Love you lots.
Good luck today.
How are you feeling right now?
I feel okay actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel alright.
Yeah.
I don't feel too nervous about it. It's just you know, in a way it'd be quite nice to see the kids. But yeah, sometimes you just need to, maybe this has been a good opportunity to try and connect again.
I'd not seen my Auntie Catherine in around 3 years, for various reasons. I'd been away at university, and due to other family disagreements, I think it had just been easier for everyone to stay out of each other's way. But now I was faced with her, and I was pretty nervous. I used to think I was close with Catherine, but she changed, and I don't know why.
We walked in, I remember standing in your kitchen, and it was tense. That was the first time my lovely family actually didn't, there were cracks in the family that I was then like, oh, you know, maybe it's not so perfect after all. I don't want to argue. I don't like arguing. I don't like shouting at people. I'd much rather just have a happy life. When it gets to Tony, I don't really have any time for him, I'm sorry. I think when it gets to my, like the Hall situation and actually Margaret's situation, he's the main problem. The only thing I'm grateful for him for is helping to produce Sam and Tabitha, but he didn't make my sister happy. He didn't make the whole family happy, and I walk past him in the street and I don't even say hello to him. But he doesn't say hello to me. I think if my sister had married someone else, this situation wouldn't be here at all.
What Catherine said hit me pretty hard. It was starting to become clear this issue was a lot deeper than just Boxing Day. After her harsh words about Tony, she'd never actually said what caused it. Why did she resent him so much?
See you in a minute. How was that?
Catherine was, really nice, but kind of talking to her, and I'm kind of thinking, are you really that person that, can be really horrible?
Tony isn't actually a blood relative. He was married to my Auntie Joanna, Catherine's sister, but he's always been there for me and he's always been in my life. I'd not seen Tony in a number of years, which is a real shame, but I found this was a great opportunity to reconnect.
Hey fella. Good to see you, man. How are you? Long time. Yeah.
When I first met Catherine, she was probably about your age, about 21, maybe a bit younger. And at the time, she was just off to go and spend some time over in a Greek island doing holiday repping. She was sitting somewhere and she's feeling pretty low, pretty blue, and I think it was really a case of her trying to decide what she wanted to do with her life. So as we were talking, we were kind of discussing options and what she could do. And one of the things I kind of said to her is, look, if you're not happy, fuck off to Greece. Yeah. She thought that was me telling her to fuck off. Yeah, quite aggressively. And it wasn't. It was just a flippant. It really did go from doing everything we could to that comment to then just this hatred. When things get to the point they get to, and this isn't just about the Macy family, by the way, this is about all families. Once it gets to a point where there's animosity and there's some underlying things that have gone on, it just goes out of control.
A mobile phone, a misunderstood comment, the smallest of things have seemed to cause a huge rift in my family, and I couldn't quite get my head around it. We stopped for the night at my Auntie Margaret's house in London. I always love visiting Maggie's, and this is where I got the unexpected news my grandmother would be joining us for breakfast that following morning, following her supposed frustration at me doing these interviews.
I think it would be good for you to talk about a few what ifs. What if she brings it up? What if she doesn't? I think you need to think this through and see what your reaction's going to be.
So it's 1 o'clock on Sunday. I am looking forward to seeing my grandmother, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Hello there, welcome to our Sunday morning paper review. With me to take us through the front pages.
That's been winter again, hasn't it? What time did we put on your ticket? I will move.
1, I think.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I'd like to apologise because I didn't mean to. I was doing this dissertation. I didn't mean to upset you with what I was doing.
Very nice
I didn't mean to cause you any upset.
When your dad told me, my heartbeat, quickened up, and I just knew that it could be the start of a real big can of worms, because then you give your version of what happened, which, as Margaret says, nobody else would even recognise, and that could start some really bad feeling. So it's it wasn't any reflection on you, and I hope it does well, but don't be surprised if it doesn't.
It was a harsh truth, but my family seems broken and probably beyond repair. They say that time heals all wounds. As family members pass and new life comes into the family, hopefully we can start to rebuild relationships and start our own traditions. This has been Boxing Day.
with me, Joseph Macy.
I was 10 years old when I found out about my dad taking his own life. Dad always said to me, he said, you don't need to worry about this because in 20 years' time there'll be a cure. I feel like I've already got it, in the fact that it's always been a part of me.
Hello?
Hello, buddy. This is my best friend, Ryan.
Hiya.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright.
I met someone the other day who is in the latter stages of HD, and it's horrible. Proper horrible. Like, with Dad, I didn't get to see him in that stage, but this guy that we met, he was like this big, huge guy. He's nothing now. And I'd seen photos of him before. And you see that, and it's just like...
A living person in front of you is, like, a bit more powerful than, like, a photo would be, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah, especially when the photo to him looks so different.
It seems like it's, like, a really scary, like, image, particularly for you. I mean, I don't know how you feel.
This whole thing around getting tested, like, I am considering it. I'm Daniel. I'm 25, and I'm facing one of the most difficult decisions in my life. Huntington's disease damages nerve cells in the brain, affecting your physical, cognitive, and mental health. It's fatal. There is no treatment to stop it developing, and no cure. I have a 50-50 chance of inheriting this condition, and I'm figuring out whether or not to be tested for this faulty gene. By my side throughout this is my girlfriend and producer, Mia. You know what? I thought I'd forgotten it entirely, but I have not.
So where are we now?
We're now approaching the other side of Danby Woods. So I'll just find a nice little place to park. So here we go. They said, oh, I always thought your dad walked a bit funny. And I started paying attention to that. For me, that's how it started, was just noticing a little kick in the leg. As simple as that. And then what came next was, well, pretty horrible.
And what did happen next?
It was January the 3rd. So he went out and I went to bed completely as normal. And then I woke up quite early that night and I went to the top of the stairs to go downstairs and I saw my granddad. And my granddad whisked me into the dining room and took me down and said, look, something bad, Dad didn't come home last night, something bad has happened. And it sort of started to click now and I just broke. I utterly just stopped. They said to me originally that it was an accident, like he had fallen. What had turned out is that Dad had that night gone out and, stepped in front of a train. I was not aware of what Huntington's was at that age, not even slightly. I just knew it was a bad thing and it made Dad walk a little funny.
Okay, so are we ready?
Yep. We're going to go to a little village called Haymore, which is where I grew up, and it was the house I lived in with my dad and my mum.
And why is it important to you, like as a memory?
Well, it's how I remember my dad. I associate Haymore with my dad and nothing else because all of my memories of him are in Haymore. It's going to turn into Penarwin Crescent, which is the little street I grew up on, which I haven't been here for years. So we'll just turn in now.
What are you getting out of the car?
Football, obviously. We're at the garages. I want to hear the sound that you used to make, but I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just going to do it
Just do it once.
Just do it gently. Oh, nostalgia. It's hard for me to try and remember my dad without the illness because it sort of took over. I remember him lashing out, but it wasn't him. Being so happy and jovial and then switching to just not in control. I truly believe if Dad wasn't ill, he wouldn't have taken his own life. You can't help but feel guilty when someone takes their own life, especially when you feel like you could have done something. This is where I'm standing at the moment. I'm happy and I need to see people who have gone through way more than me, because at the moment I don't want the knowledge of having Huntington's disease to dictate how I lead my life. I don't think I've even seen slightly what HD can do. And I think I have to in order to make a real, thought-out decision.
Do you think you'd be ready to hear an answer from a test?
No, I don't think anyone could be ever ready for that. But I'm going to meet some people, and I don't know, I'm keeping an open mind.
I'm Jeremy. I'm Secretary of the Cornwall branch of the Huntington's Disease Association. First, my wife was diagnosed as having paranoid schizophrenia, and strangely, when she finally was tested and proven to have the gene, and she found it strangely reassuring.
I'm 25, whole life ahead of me. What would you do?
I think from my point of view, if I was in your position now, knowing that the state of the research as it is, there is nothing that you can do that would be different, whether you know or you don't know.
Yeah.
And while that is the case, then as long as you're responsible and not flinging your sperm around the world, then I think the situation is a safe one.
I'm Robert. For my sins, I'm the chairman of the local committee. I'm Jeremy's sidekick, and my partner's got Huntington's. When I was asked at the first meeting to relay my story, which I did, I actually got very emotional and broke down.
Robert's partner Phil is in the latter stages of Huntington's disease, and he took us to meet him.
We were looking at a photograph of you, handsome young man you were. Where's those years gone?
I was quite fortunate when we first met Phil. He had some verbal ability, so we got to know Phil. We was on that. We saw the decline in the speech, and obviously we got used to Phil's body language and the grunts that would come out rather than full words that would come out.
I think the bit that's striking for me is the weight loss.
Yeah.
That hits pretty hard.
I mean, when we first met Phil, he was eating solid food, and through the years he's had to now pureed down and things like that, and we have to help him spoon feed him and things like that.
Yeah.
He still manages all his meals.
For me, obviously, I've got a lot of experience of it in my family, but not at the latter stages. For me, it's massively eye-opening to see, Phil, how he is now. That's not the Phil you know. Do you still love him?
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
And I never stopped till his dying day. You just can't help that. Although I've moved on with my life, there's that bond still there and always will be.
Thank you, Robert.
Do you know that could be me? That poor guy. And poor Robert. He still loves him so much. It was such a challenging process to meet people, but I feel so much better for doing it. I feel drained, but I feel enlightened in a way. I'm not scared. There is no right or wrong answers in this process. It's just how you as an individual feel, and has my mind been changed? I wouldn't say it's been changed in the fact that I still don't want to be tested yet, but on the advice of basically everybody that I've spoken to, when it comes down to it, when I want to have a family, when it directly affects other people, I think it's my responsibility to be tested. If I flip a coin and you bet all your life savings on tails, people will call you an idiot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a 50-50 chance, and
But you're not giving yourself a 50% chance of being optimistic.
no, because it's crushing. I think I'm so mentally prepared in a way to know that I've got it, that if I don't get it, I think that'll be the more shocking experience.
It's not a decision you have to do alone, but it is yours to make,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Part of me feels like flipping a coin sometimes.
Mate, do it.
Leave it to chance. It's 50-50 whether I get it anyway. May as well leave it 50-50 to get tested as well. Am I feeling lucky? Anyway, mate, I'll let you go. Don't want something to define me, and I don't want it to, dictate how I live my life. I want to do it on my terms, not HD's terms.